May 18th for our Alice City Council meeting. I would like to open agenda item 1 with our invocation, and our senior pastor, Mr. Zach Tharp, will lead us in our invocation. And Mr. Molina, if you can do the pledge of it.
Sure.
Okay.
If I may be granted 30 seconds to speak.
Sure.
My name is Zach. My wife is Kimbra. She's back there. We have served as pastor. I've served as pastor for 4 years at First Baptist here in Alice. God has called us away from Alice. We're going to be relocating to Midland next week. We were not trying to leave. We love our church. We love this city. Alice es buena gente. We have so loved being a part of the city of Alice. It's the most welcoming place we've ever lived. We've lived all over. We love our church, our community. We look forward to what God has in store for the city of Alice moving forward. To the city council members, thank you so much for how hard you work to serve this city. Madam Mayor, thank you for how you lead, and we're going to be praying for y'all as we transition, but just want to say thank you so much for having us here in your city these last 4 years. We're going to miss the city greatly, but we trust that God has big things in store for it, and we're grateful for what you do. Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Heavenly Father God, Lord, we love you. We thank you for this beautiful day that you've given us. God, for this meeting that will take place here today. God, I pray that you would give these council members wisdom and discernment to lead, Lord, how you would want them to lead. God, for decisions that have to be made, for hard conversations and discussions that may need to be had. God, we pray for unity on issues. We pray for wisdom, clarity, discernment, that you would grant this council those things. God, as they hear from others, we just pray, Lord, that everything would come up, that things would be handled with honesty, with integrity, with the utmost care. God, we pray that they would put first the needs of the city, the cares and concerns of the city, and that they would really work to do good here, Lord. We thank you for how they have worked and served on their time here. For those who maybe are newly elected, we pray, Lord, that they would have a good run on this council and again, lead with honesty and integrity, and that we would honor and glorify you in all that we do, Lord. God, we love you. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
And then if you would permit me one selfie real quick. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please turn and face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Okay. Agenda item number 2. If we have, I'd like to open it up for citizen comments. I don't see any no citizen comments. Okay, with that being said, then y'all see the beautiful balloons we have here. We wanted to or have everyone join us in congratulating our Alice varsity baseball team. They are moving on or advancing to regional quarterfinals. So we're immensely proud of them, and Council and the City of Alice wants to give a shout out to them and say congratulations, and we're behind you, and go Coyotes.
Go Coyotes.
And with that, I'll pass it on to our council members if they have any announcements, and we'll start with Mrs. Bowen.
Oh, okay.
Councilwoman.
Well, I have a few.
Okay.
First of all, I'd like to remind everybody that this week is Public Works. That's okay. This week is Public Works Week, and it's from the 16th through the 22nd, and of course, I'm in infrastructure and that kind of engineering business, and we work together with a lot of public works entities, so I want to shout out to them and always thank them for all they do for our community, and especially with the City of Alice, our Public Works Department. I thank you very much, your staff and everybody. And the other announcement I have is called Rock the Stigma. It's a mental health awareness event that is going to be at the Veterans Park on May 22nd from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. The sponsors are Alice Pediatric, Coastal Bend Community Center, Coastal Plains Community Center, Real, and South Texas Community Clubhouse. They will have vendors there at the Veterans Park on the 22nd, but they'll also have free vaccinations for kids from 12 and older, COVID-19 vaccinations, sorry. And then on Memorial Day, we have a remembrance and honor, and that's May 31st at Veterans Park at 9:30 a.m., and that is being put on by the Alice Rotary Club, VFW Post 8621, our Jim Wells County Veterans Office, David Salinas. They will have some vendors out there as well, giving some items away to the veterans and different people, whoever, it's open to the public, so. And then the last one I'm going to announce, it's a little bit further in the next month, but I don't think we have a council meeting till after, so. We are going to have a, Market Days, Alice Outdoor Market Days. It's going to be at the Shop, Eat, and Enjoy beautiful downtown Alice, Texas, and it's being brought to you by the Alice Hub City Chamber of Commerce, the new Hub City Chamber of Commerce, and that will be June 12th at 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. They're going to be closing the street off, is that right, Michael? They got a permit to close the street off? So they'll have a variety of vendors out there. And that's about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. No. Mayor Pro Tem, any announcements or?
I'll let you do that. No, I just want to welcome everybody to the meeting tonight. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah, and just to reiterate what the mayor said about the baseball team, let's not forget they play this Friday. I don't know if you had stated that.
No, I did.
They play this Friday here in town versus Toloso Midway, so get out and support the Alice Coyotes baseball team, and I just want to thank everybody from here. We got a pretty full crowd. I know we have a retirement today, so it's full nonetheless. So thank you all for coming.
Thank you. I also just wanted to give thanks to all the citizens out there. I was driving around after our storm, and it was so nice to see our community coming together, helping one another, each neighbor, helping with trees that have fallen. There was a group of citizens that were trying to rescue some hawks that fell from a tree, and so I saw so much love and care out there. So I want to just tell our Public Works, all our city employees, I know Patrick was up late, Mr. Esparza was up late, so no, thank you for all the hard work y'all do behind the scenes that we don't get to see, so thank y'all so much. Okay, I'd like to open up agenda item number 4. Information from, oh, 3, I'm sorry. I got ahead of myself, sorry.
That's okay.
Agenda item number 3, presentation by city attorney regarding public comments.
Yes, ma'am, because you'll hear me if I'm here, right? I'll get down here. At our last meeting where Mayor, where you were sworn in and the rest of the council was sworn in, there was a question that was asked of me by Mayor Vanover in regards to there being a failure to have a public comment listed on the agenda. And for those that, and this is just an explanation for you all, and then also for the public in those regards, is that, and I've provided to you in front of you, there's 551.007, which is the section out of the Open Meetings Act here in the state of Texas that relates to, and that nowhere in that statute, nowhere in the law does it say that you have to have listed on your agenda what I call a cattle call public comments, and that's for anybody to stand up and talk about points of interest, kind of like what you guys do. It's not required to be on there. The statute doesn't require it to be on there. The only thing the statute requires is that if you have agenda items and somebody in the community wishes to speak to the agenda item, you need to let that individual speak as to the agenda item. You can do that at the beginning, or you can do that during the meeting. You know, when we were asked this before, when we should do it, it's whatever the preference is what I say, just so long as they have an opportunity to speak. However, the statute also allows you guys to adopt rules for people to make those comments even on the agenda items. And in one of the rules that we have in place is they have to sign in. Now, at the last meeting last week, nobody had signed in to make any public comments. And so there wasn't a nefarious or evil action on the part of our city clerk who put the agenda item together to try to delete it from it. The only thing that she did is she followed patterns that we had used in the past when it was a swearing-in meeting. And the last several, that's the way that it was, and that's where it came from. And so there wasn't any bad intentions on the part of administration, or particularly the city clerk. Even though she's got bad intentions towards me, she didn't have them towards y'all. But, and that's the nature of the statute. And just please remember, this public meeting statute also allows each of you to ask me questions. If a question comes up and, we need a policy or a legal statement or explanation of law in those regards, and we might have to look it up, but we're entitled, or I'm entitled to respond to that, even though it might not be on the agenda. Okay? Okay. You guys got any questions about this?
Good to
clear?
know.
No questions?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now on to 4. I apologize. Okay. Information from the city manager regarding updates to Lake Finley transmission line and preventative maintenance on electrical equipment at pump station, water treatment plant, and wastewater treatment plant.
Thank you, Mayor. Wanted to let you guys know that 2 weeks ago, we finished something that kind of needed to be done for a long time. And one of them had to do with an additional, 2 additional intakes on our transmission line from Lake Finley to our water treatment plant. We had one 6-inch intake, and that allowed us to temporarily bypass a little bit of water to bypass our pump station at Lake Finley. But we went ahead and did completed additional 2, so that allows us to temporarily bypass the pump station at Lake Finley, for as long as we have fuel to be able to pump straight out into that transmission line into our water treatment plant. And that was a long time coming. One of the things we had to do before that was we had a flapper valve at our holding pond that was rusted out, and it's a flapper valve to close the line would just close it through weight, so water wouldn't go back into the line. And so we had to release water from that holding pond for a while, and that kind of hinders our reserves at times. So we had to pick the right time to do it. We did that, had it fabricated, and then turned around and went back to the transmission line and installed those 2 intakes. So that's a really big deal for us. It allows us to not worry so much about Lake Finley or anything that happens out there, because if something does happen at the pump station, we can go with pumps and put 3 6-inch pumps and run water, as long as we have fuel on those pumps. The other thing that we did was something that needed to be done also was preventive maintenance on all our master control centers and all our units and all the electrical equipment. And we got that done finally, and that's at all the pump stations, Lake Corpus Christi, Lake Finley, and also the water plant and 2 wastewater plants. And that was kind of a big project. So this is simply any electrical equipment that's out there needed to be serviced. Opened up, make sure that everything's working fine, make sure there's no cobwebs, mud daubers, all that got it cleaned out. Those things can cause arcs or some of those things to fail. So we got that done, and it's a big deal. I want to thank Demetrio, our Public Works Director, Duarte, for making sure that happened. And we timed it just right. We made sure we had everything done first on the bypass in case something did happen when they were cleaning. But we're on schedule to do that regularly, yearly preventive maintenance.
Okay.
That's it.
Good, thank you for that. Okay, we'll move on to agenda item number 5. Retirement of Officer Tim Legesse and K-9 Rex. And I would like to ask our police chief to step forward.
So, it's unfortunate, but Officer Legesse has decided and to retire, and he's on to bigger and better things. After 27 years of giving his time to law enforcement and to this country. And so he's decided to finally retire, and he's going to be traveling and along with K-9 Rex that has been a part of our department for 7.5 years. Actually, I think right now he's 9 years old, actually. He's of age, but he's been with the department 7.5 years. And I'll talk to you a little bit why I wanted to retire K-9 Rex, along with Officer Legess as he moves on to bigger and better things in his life. Tim, would you come up just for a second, please? You have. Tim, on behalf of the City Council, Alice City Council, our city manager, the Alice Police Department, and the citizens of Alice, Texas, we would like to say thank you for your 13 years of service to the Alice Police Department and total 27 years. Your diligence, self-motivation, as well as dedication have been a source of inspiration to us all. We know that success doesn't come without hard work and commitment. We, the Alice Police Department, wish you the best in your future endeavors. Always remember that APD will always be your home. On a personal note, I would like to take this time to say thank you, not only for your years of service to the Alice Police Department, but for your years of service to our country. Thank you for that. Wishing you all the happiness and joy retirement can bring. Again, thank you, and thank you for your time, and I am so sorry to lose you. I'm going to miss you. I know our time has been short, but I'm sorry you have to go, and I know it's always for the best. So congratulations to Legess on his retirement. So, and one of the things in honor of Legess and his retirement, this is the Alice Police Department. We are retiring his badge, which will be placed on the plaque, and it reads, Officer Timothy Legess, in appreciation for your 13 years of selfless dedication and tireless efforts in protecting the citizens of the city of Alice, we wish you all the best for continued success, and most importantly, we pray you have peace and relaxation in the months and years to come. On behalf of the Alice Police Department, congratulations. Thank you. Yes, please.
You might want to ask his wife to come in. Hey, Tim, you want to get your family in?
Yes.
This is a gift from me for Rex. You know how I love our canines. I thought he needed something as well, so I'll just put it right here. Isn't that what you thought of me? It's okay, baby. You know I love you.
You're tall, so
They call her over here.
Okay, that's good enough.
So I just want to finish off by saying that, and I guess as you guys, as a council, you make your way back to the top, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about Rex and why we're going to retire Officer Rex.
You can't smell all the goodies in here.
Yes, again. So one of the things that when I was appointed chief of police for the city of Alice, I wanted to look at our program as an overall, how we can better ourselves, looking at our canines and seeing are we spending our money wisely, and it's a great investment, but the dog has done his time, and I want him to live out the final years of his life in a place of enjoyment and not in a place of work. And so being at 9 years of age, usually about the age of 9, usually of 10, it's time to retire your dog. But I did have a physical performed by Dr. Wilkerson, and on that they noticed that his hips were already arthritic, and it was going to be a point where we would have to be carrying him to a place in the back of the unit. At one point in 2014, when we did buy the canine, when we did buy Officer Rex, we paid $11,000 for it. He's done his job. He's done what we've asked him to do, and it's time to send him home also and retire along with Officer Legess. So he wrote a letter, and I'd like to read it to you guys. It says, it is, and he writes it, and I'm writing it to him actually. It is understood that you're taking this opportunity to retire. Your request to retire is accepted. This letter authorizes you to keep your house, kennel, squeaky toys, and rope toys. You must also agree to remain with Officer Tim Legest for the rest of your natural life. Thank you for your service to the city of Alice, Texas. Best wishes to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I told them we can't do anything about it. It's not on the channel.
Oh, no.
1300.
It's on Facebook, it's on YouTube, so 1,300.
We'll move on to agenda item number 6. Discuss, consider, and act upon approval of city council minutes for April 20th, 2021, city council meeting, and the May 11, 2021 special city council meeting. Council, y'all had time to review the minutes, and if there's no changes.
Mayor, I make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
Second.
Thank you. So we have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Agenda item number 7, presentation and discussion from Bill Norris with Norris Leal regarding Texas Water Development Phase 1 and Phase 2, including P3 updates on water project.
Mayor and City Council, first of all, congratulations on your victories. I look forward to 2 more full years, and hopefully we can get finished before then. But just want to give you a brief update. Just kind of backtracking on where we are. We got a Phase 1 and a Phase 2. Phase 1, if you just kind of consider Phase 1 as well number 1, Phase 2 as well number 2. And Phase 1 used to include the design of a treatment plant, but now we have a P3. So you get Phase 1, Phase 2, P3. P3 is 7 Cs, of which the city is under negotiations with them to do the treatment. The city provides the water, 7 Cs provides the treatment, and then charges the city a rate to bring the water back into the city that meets the drinking water standards. So, right now, 7 Cs is working on an updated scope of work. After we did the test well on the well, there's constituents in the water that they have to kind of do the final design of how to treat the water to meet the drinking water standards. So one of the issues that we found in there was a higher level of boron. Well, boron is a mineral in the water that is not regulated by the state or federal standards, so it's non-existent. But it is regulated, it's not regulated, but recommended that you meet a certain level by the World Health Organization. So we've asked 7 Cs, okay, you need to come, your treatment needs to meet the minimum of World Health Organization. And so, which they're putting together. Now what that does is it increases your capital cost somewhat because you have to put a second stage on the end of the treatment process that you wouldn't have had to do otherwise. Plus, it takes a little higher pressure, so higher pressure costs, a little higher capital costs. So we're waiting on that price from them. I expect it to be within reason of what I projected it to be about a month ago in the $2.25 to 30-cent range. Now, they haven't told me what it is, but I hope that's about where it is. And so it's still within the reason of treatment and saving the purchase of water, giving you a secondary source of water as opposed to taking all your water from Corpus Christi. So then, because of that, we're looking, we've requested that, or as a joint effort between the city, 7 Cs, and us, says, okay, we haven't done the second well, so let's do a phased approach to the treatment system, which the first phase would be, if we're looking at a 3 million gallon a day plant, let's build 1 million gallons a day. We've got the well that provide the water to it. Because if well number 2 doesn't have the high boron, so if we make the treatment at this high level, at this high cost, let's don't do that yet. Let's do a smaller, I call it demonstration, but it's really 1/3 of your capacity. And so if the second well doesn't come up with those constituents, then we can go back in the design with a lower cost. So it's better not to spend so much money and overspend at first because if it does come out to that level, then we already know that that first level of treatment, that first phase will be good for that. So with that said, now we have Water Development Board that we have to explain all this to and how we're taking phase 1 and phase 2 and P3. They've never done this before. No one's really never done this before, taking public money, at low interest, which is really a good thing for you to do because you're getting a lot of your phase 1, phase 2 cost at where they may pay off 1/3 for free money as loan forgiveness, roughly another third as 0% interest, and the other third at low interest. So it's hard to compete with that on the private market. And so it's good that you're spending that money for that. So we have already applied for phase 2. They've already responded to our application. We've responded to their questions. Now we're waiting back. So I think because as complex as this is, it's kind of hard to just keep writing notes back and forth that I've requested a meeting face-to-face. I'm not sure if they're still meeting in face-to-face yet, but it's certainly better to sit across the table and look them in the eye and say, we're sincere, we want to do this, but we have questions you need to answer, and you have questions we need to answer, rather than going back and forth with a series of 20 questions. That's what we're trying to do. So that's where we are. I hope to set that up. I've had 2 calls into them to see if we can set that up, plus request it in writing, and we'll see if we can get that done and move this project forward so we have some decisions to make. And so those are some of the key items that we need to do. Be glad to answer any questions. And
Council, any questions?
Something I want to add to that, when Bill is saying, no one's ever done this before, what it is the public-private partnership with Texas Water Development Board loan money. So there's a lot of P3s that happen all throughout, but they've never touched the TWDB, and that's where and they don't have a problem with it. It's new for them, and for us, it's another set of eyes looking at the P3 as well, because they're going to see exactly how it's going to work. But that's a little bit of a challenge because we're on Texas Water Development Board loan timeframes also, and what Bill talked about last time is on the private side it's real fast, but on the government side it's slower, and Water Development Board is slower to act, and that's why we're trying to balance that as well. So it is it's a challenge, but we're working through it. Another thing is we want to get in front of them to explain to them also that we don't want to pay for second stage filtration for the term of the water agreement if we don't have to. And that's why we're coming back and say, let's do the pilot. And explain that to them. They shouldn't have a problem with that. We're being reasonable. Why would we want to do that long term if we're only going to have to do second stage treatment for a year or so? And so that's kind of the big thing that we want to explain to them and show them some information that we have and get them to, hopefully they'll be okay with that. And it just pushes the phase 2 could push it to one more cycle.
Council?
So having put that out there, we don't foresee anything that's going to actually shut the project down.
no, I don't anticipate any gotchas. I mean, we're facing the things head on that we have, and we would have made that decision 2 months ago if that was the case.
Good to hear that. Now, with this phased-in approach, we had a 2022 expected completion date. I know that private sector is ready to move. They're always ready to move because they move, they get a paycheck, right?
Right.
That's the way it starts working. So what is that date, 2022, a sliding date also now with this
I-
phased-in approach?
I
or-
think that is probably, so here's from the Water Development Board's standpoint. You know, we had to delay some things that were long lead time items. One of which is the discharge permit. Okay, so we've kind of asked, we put that as part of the 7C scope, is to get the permit. Starting today, if they start today and submit it, it's probably a minimum of 9 months. Okay, so that allows us to do, so now that if we know what they're putting in, I can finish the engineering report, which they've been asking me for. Well, I can't finish the engineering report unless I know what the engineering is for the treatment plant and how we are going to approach it, because I'm not doing the designing, but they are. But I've got to put the report together. So once the report's done, then I submit that to our environmental consultant, which he prepares an environmental document, submits that to the Water Development Board, and they take a minimum of 6 months to review and approve or comment. By law, they have to send it to the different agencies, federal and state agencies, and they have so much time to comment on it. And so that's called an environmental information document. So that would track along with the permit, and so those are the two long lead time items. If we didn't have those, we could probably start construction, you know, the next couple months. But we can't. They won't release money till Water Development Board will release any more money until the environmental is approved. So that's kind of, I get to work for free still.
Any other questions, council? No? Okay. I just wanted to ask you, how many times have you come across that, because I know you said it's not very common, what is it called, boron? Or-
Boron, yeah. Well, in Katy, we're doing a project that came up with some boron, not at this level. So we were able to adjust the treatment process. I know that in the valley, when they were irrigating during the times of the drought of the 50s, they were taking some well water that had boron in it, and it affected their crops. So we need to get the boron out. Just because it's wet water doesn't mean you've got to be able to treat any water that you bring in. It has to meet drinking water standards.
Sure.
And just so that we clarify this again, you made the statement, is that as far as regulating water that we put out into the public, there is no regulation as far as that, but we're basically, or y'all are basically over-engineering it so that we're going above and beyond to put out water levels that are higher standard than what is actually acceptable, correct?
Well, considering, and I'll give you kind of the two examples of, you've got surface water that varies, fluctuates, and it takes drainage water from the fields. The groundwater is basically, God pre-treated that for you because it's been filtered for thousands of years. It's its own filter system. So really all you have in that is minerals. And so we've removed the minerals. Now you've got what they call bottle quality water coming out of that, which is more consistent than surface water, which you have now. It's still, your surface water is good water, still meets the standards, but it's not as consistent as what you will find coming from the ground. And so, yeah, to me, if you look at the back of the bottled water, it says treated by reverse osmosis and minerals added for taste. So what they do is they take all the minerals out and they put some back in so it'll taste like water. So that's kind of what the RO process does. It treats it to a much higher level than what you need, because it does. Because it goes through a filter, it removes the minerals. And so to stabilize it, you got to add some minerals back into it to stabilize it, because it becomes more aggressive. So it's really, it gives you a better tasting water and saves you chemical costs.
Yeah. So, and again, I just want to thank staff, and I want to thank y'all for going that above and beyond for the citizens of Alice. Yes, it's going to delay things a little bit. Yes, we have to re-engineer and you know, they have to rework things, but in order to put out that better product, I thank y'all for taking the time in order to address that properly. So thank you.
Yeah, we'll have a nice ribbon cutting.
So am I to understand that the suggestion is, I guess, a reverse, an RO plant that's going to be 1/3 the size of the one that was I guess.
For the first
planned?
phase only.
Right.
Okay. Now, what has history taught you all about these boron levels? Like, do they go away? Do they not? I mean, I know somebody was saying something about you're going to do the second well. I mean, how far from that is going to be? You know, is it going to be where
Significant
it's?
enough.
I don't anticipate that the boron level will be that much different, because we're less than 3,000 feet apart. And unless there's just happens to be a pocket of boron. Boron and so we're at a level of 12. Boron is present in seawater at about 5. That's pretty normal. And they don't even think anything about it because they use a higher pressure anyway and it removes it. So, you know, I don't see that there's any issues, but if for some reason that water quality is different than at the other well, and we save some money, I don't think it's going to affect anything that you do. You'll still be able to put in 1 million gallons of water into the system and not buy 2 million gallons of water from the city of Corpus, because you lose 50% of your water. So immediately, once you start, the more you treat, the more you save.
But also, looking at it is, if we're pumping for, let's say, a year from that first well, from that pocket, and testing, you know, that's the hope is that boron level will lower, because we may be in that pocket that just has that higher boron. Also, that's where we were drilling, and it did come down from the first sampling that we did. But you know, the hope is that'll happen. If it doesn't, then we're back to the second stage filtration anyway.
Just moving on with the same process.
Okay.
Just for clarification, because I haven't been here in a while, so. Right now, we completed phase 1, which was to drill that first well, and we pumped and filtrated or pumped water through, and you did samples and everything was okay, but did we do a second? Are we at phase 2 with a second, or just 1 right now, and now you have boron in that? Okay.
Phase 2 was an application process to do the second well.
Okay.
And theoretically, this is a theoretical time frame of which, so we go through with our questions on the application for phase 2, which would be the second well. Then, once we clarify all the constituents in the application, you know, the financial, all the different questions and things that you do, but from that point, then they say, okay, everything is complete. Okay, we want you to close on this loan in 3 months. You've got to close in 3 months. You're not obligated to do anything with this phase 2 until you close on the loan, then you're obligated to pay that back. So that's probably toward, you know, probably at least, I don't know, what it take last time, maybe 4 or 5 months from now. And we wouldn't even start the second well until the environmental's done 6 or 8 months from now. That answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Again, proving that municipal work moves slow.
But we're not
But we're-
behind schedule,
but we're
right?
I mean, no,
But we're
I mean,
careful.
it's good. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we're still on schedule, but it's just,
Okay.
these are the type of things that delay the process, that people don't realize from the outside looking in. Oh, you're just drilling a well. You're just doing this. You're just doing that. Well, it's not really just that. And that's what people don't quite understand on the outside looking in, that it's just moves slower. And like the city manager, like Mike said, it's just a slower process when private companies are ready to move, but we have to wait for every I to be dotted and every T to be crossed, and then they triple check it. So
And we're also being cautious. You know, if we don't have to spend second stage filtration for the length of this term, I'd rather not do that.
Right.
And so we're being careful. So, you know, trying to, we could certainly just say, let's keep on rolling the way we are. And then we're going to have that cost that is guaranteed a higher cost than what we're expecting right now. Still well below what it costs us right now for surface water. But, you know, we're being careful, and we're, you know, moving things along the way. I think we're looking at it kind of differently. I mean, it's, we just don't want to make any mistakes on it. So we're-
I mean, we're really in no rush, right? I mean, we want to get it done right, and we want to be safe, and,
Right.
you know. Thank you.
You
thank
bet.
you.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you, staff.
Okay, so agenda item number 8. Discuss, consider, and act upon tentative dates and times of budget workshops and public hearings for the proposed fiscal year 2021 to 2022 City of Alice budget. Mr. Esparza?
Mayor and Council, so what we have is the tentative schedule that we do every year, and sometimes on the May meeting, there's kind of no action where you guys will take this back and see if there's any time that y'all are going to be out, especially in August. But if y'all are ready to take action, you can certainly tentatively set the dates, but the calendar is before you on what our plans are. So, we plan to present the budget on the July the 20th. And then we need to be able to have dates, before then, of course. But the heart of it is in August is when we really go through the budget. And we're looking at 2 standalone, we have one standalone meeting on August 3rd, a tentative date for a standalone budget meeting. And then a budget public hearing on that next Tuesday in August. After that, the 17th is a regular meeting, and on that regular meeting, we'll have that budget workshop agenda item. But what I was thinking is, we would have that there if there was any discussion about it after that first meeting, but I was thinking we could come through and on the 24th, have another standalone budget meeting for you guys. So that would be the only change that I would recommend there, and that would give us 2 budget meetings solely for the budget. And then come through in September, we would adopt a budget. We would have 2 separate dates when it comes down to it to be able to post for 2 different dates, but adopt the budget on September 9th. We have till September 15th to do that. And our regular meeting in September is on the 21st. So the big dates are in August. We're thinking of every Tuesday there, the 3rd, the 10th, 17th, and 24th.
Okay. Council, any suggestions or any comments on setting dates?
As of right now, everything's good for me, so I don't know if you want to set it or if anybody else needs to go back and look at the calendar.
Do you want us to go ahead and put the 24th as also a second date?
Yeah, I was going to say, just add the 24th.
24th?
Yes, I would suggest.
Standalone budget meeting?
Standalone
Yes.
budget
Or 2.
meeting.
My question would be, is what do you plan on doing on the 24th? Because that's when I
Just a regular budget meeting, or budget workshop?
the workshops.
Yeah.
Not getting out of it that easy. We
I
can put
know,
you
I
on
was
Zoom.
like,
I know, I can participate on the phone.
if needed. You're always needed.
I do like the standalone budget workshops. I think that it's beneficial to council because you get to hear from each of the departments, go over everything, and I think we learn a lot from that. So I do like the standalone budget workshops versus being incorporated into a regular meeting.
Right.
So,
We have 2 of them scheduled right now anyway.
So on the 17th, we're still having our regular meeting with budget
Regular meeting,
workshop
I mean,
agenda?
We would have that item if there was anything that we needed to talk about between those 2 meetings.
Got it.
Unless y'all didn't want to have it on the agenda for that at all, but it'd just be a catch-all in case it was something that wanted to be discussed before the next day,
I think that's
the
fine,
next week, I mean.
in my
And
opinion.
Real quick, Mike, I know that with our pandemic economy that we've been dealing with and the way the budget has been constantly oversaw by staff, and I thank y'all for that. But the July 20th, we feel we're on point in order to get a completed budget presented by then. I mean, obviously, we're going to have the adjustments that'll have to be made thereafter, but we're good for the 20th for presentation to council?
Uh-huh.
Okay, good, very good.
Finances, Finance is having meetings every day with,
Yeah, they've been working.
with departments and,
That's what I want the public to hear, is that finance is already on top of it, so.
oh, yeah.
They've been working on this. That's
We
great.
start early.
okay. So council, would you like to set the dates as suggested?
Mayor, I make a motion to accept the times and dates budget workshop as presented for public hearing and for proposed fiscal year 21-22 for the City of Alice budget.
And adding the 24th?
Oh, I'm sorry,
Add
but
the
with adding the
24th.
24th as a secondary date. I apologize.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, motion passes. Thank you, council. Okay, our next agenda item is discuss, consider, and act upon authorizing city manager to sign renewal and/or new contracts for Texas Pollution Discharge Elimination System, TPDES, for Service Center and Airport, stormwater permit for landfill, Texas Pollution Discharge Elimination System for Southside and East Plant, and spill prevention control and countermeasures for Service Center and Airport for professional services based on master agreement with AARC Environmental Incorporated.
Mayor, we have Fidel Rule III with AARC to present.
Good evening, and thank you for giving us the time to speak to you about this. We have currently an existing agreement with 3 of your services facilities, the airport, the service center, and the landfill. Those agreements are expiring, and the current stormwater permits are expiring in August as well. So we are we would like to renew those contracts and also extend our services to the other facilities, the wastewater treatment plants, to include with those agreements. And also, in addition, the spill prevention control and countermeasures are for the service center and airport, because they have the fuel tanks on site, and this is a federally mandated regulation that needs to be in place for those facilities.
Okay, council, any questions? No? No. Any? Mrs. Bowen?
No, no questions, thank you.
Mr. Brown? No? Mr. Molina?
No, I have no questions. Thank you.
Mr. Chris,
No, ma'am, thank you.
Okay. I know I wanted to ask, Mr. Esparza, we've had how long? We renew it how often?
This
Is
is
it-
It's every
First
5
rule,
years.
yeah.
and we've
Every
been working
5
with the
years.
Alice since 2011. We've been assisting the facilities with their environmental compliance.
Okay. And do we have a stormwater pollution prevention plan also that you assist us with that?
Yes,
That's
we
part of the
create-
requirements,
Yeah, it's
right?
part of, we create that for the facilities. Each one it's sector-specific based on the industrial activity, and it's also site-specific.
Mm-hmm.
So we create it for each of the facilities, and that is good for 5 years while the permit's in place.
Okay.
And Texas is in the process of renewing it, issuing a new draft permit, hopefully in the next month or so we can start looking at it and see what the new requirements are.
Okay, so the service that you provide to us for each of these departments or facilities is to make sure that we're in compliance with our paperwork or how does, can you explain that? Tell me a little bit.
Absolutely.
Okay.
What it is we create the stormwater pollution prevention plan for each facility, and based on that and the regulations, we do the quarterly inspections, site visits, to make sure that the paperwork's in place, the yards are clean, that there's no potential pollution sources out there that could adversely affect the stormwater discharge. And then we also assist with the sampling and analytical monitoring of the runoff from your facilities. So we'll come every quarter. Landfill is more often. We come on a monthly basis to the landfill because that's what's required. And so with these other facilities, we'll just incorporate them into the routine, get the new prevention plans in place. Once the permit's out, we'll create the new plan for the new permits in August, and then have a whole new set of facilities for.
And I did notice on here, you said that we're responsible for the samples, but you just mentioned something that you do come.
What it is, we set up the facility with a sample kit, so it's all
Okay.
ready to go. You know,
Okay.
Our team can't be here at the exact
Sure.
moment for rain, but we make sure that they're trained and know how to properly take the sample. Once they take the sample, they call our team, and we call FedEx, have them come and pick it up, get it to lab sample, and then we'll look at the results. And if there's an exceedance, then we'll try to work with the facility, try to get it back under the benchmark parameters. If there isn't, then everything's good, and we just kind of keep on rolling.
Okay, great. And I did see something on here, and I just wanted to ask Mr. Esparza, we could, it said terminate TXR 05 permit, Superior Grading Incorporated. What's that on here?
What page?
It's Exhibit A, service order.
I think that might be an error.
Okay, I was wondering what that was, so I wasn't
That's a mistake that my assistant probably left on there.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. I just wanted to check, because I wasn't sure what that was.
Before it's executed to correct it, right?
Yes. Okay, I think those are all the questions I have.
So how long have you, I'm sorry,
You go ahead.
how long have you been working with the city of Alice? Helping us
Since
with this?
2011.
2011? Awesome. Okay.
Okay. Council, no more questions?
We're good.
Discussion, no? Okay. We can entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion authorizing the city manager to sign renewal and/or new contracts of Texas Pollution Discharge Elimination System for Service Center and Airport Storm Water Permit for Landfill, Texas Pollution Discharge Elimination System for Southside and East Plant, and Spill Prevention Control and Countermeasures for Service Center and Airport for professional services based on master agreement with AARC Environmental, Inc.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Same, all opposed, same sign. The motion carries.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Okay, now we can go to agenda item, let me see. 10, discuss, consider, and act upon providing sanitary sewer main and lateral service connections, water and wastewater to the individual lots of the Palm Mobile Home Park tenants.
Thank you, Nick.
Mayor and Council, we've been working on this for several years, probably almost maybe 10 years, trying to work on this project. And part of it got funded through a certificate of obligation bond that was passed to get sewer out there. This mobile home park has been in the city limits for, they were annexed, 1980. And, they didn't have sewer lines out there, didn't have fire protection, and fire protection was, I think, done in 2011 or 12. And now we're looking at providing them individual water and individual sewer and garbage pickup to that area. And so Roland's been working on it with Joe and utility billing to see what the cost would be and how it'd benefit us. It would create 68 new accounts, I believe. And Roland's going to go over the numbers that he has.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Hello.
We, from May 2020 to April 2021, which is 1 full year, we billed Palm Mobile Home Park $43,436. Right now, they do have one master meter, so they're not individual accounts. So we're projecting that if we provide all three services for 68 units, and that's counting water, sewer, and garbage, then that would be about a little over $94,338 roughly. So that's a potential revenue increase of almost $51,000 per year. The estimated cost of the project, which we would assume the cost is about almost $200,000. That's including material, labor, and engineering for your water line and your wastewater line also. If we do that, then we're estimating about almost a 4-year payback on our return. Whatever we invest, about 4 years, and we'll get that return back.
After 4 years?
After 4 years, almost 4 years, a little less than 4 years.
Nice. That's a good return.
Okay. Council, any questions?
How long do you think that this will actually take to get done from groundbreaking to completion?
That would be a joke question. How long do you think it would take?
About 3 months.
About 3 months.
3 months. And the accounts that are there, or the homes that are there currently, I mean, Are they all on board? I mean, this isn't always something that people like to transition to. I mean, we've seen it in other places when you try to add water in areas where they already have a well. I mean, is this something they're on board with, or, I mean, how does this gonna?
Mr. Crawford, are they on board, 68 tenants? Are they on board to move forward with this project, the 68 tenants?
They don't know a whole bunch about this yet. I've kind of mentioned it to most of them, that the city is trying to get us off the septic tanks and go into city sewer, and to do that, y'all would
No, they
be
rent,
water
so-
account for the expense of that.
Yeah.
Do they already pay, do they already have that expense as part of the I guess, the property rent or what have you, to have their mobile homes there? Is there already an expense for that there, for them, that it would just be shifting
We
from?
were providing water for them.
But were they paying extra for y'all to have, to provide the water? I mean, because we're gonna be, now that these citizens that are living at these, what's that?
I always paid the water.
Because now we're basically gonna be pushing these people into having a bill that they didn't have before.
Individual meters.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't necessarily have a problem with that because they're in city limits and they should be provided with these services. But we just need to make sure that that everybody knows what's happening. When we start breaking ground right in front of their home or right behind their home, they need to know what's going on. So that's
So
the
if I
biggest thing.
understand your question correctly, I think you're saying if it's included in the rent, so if there'll be a deduction on the water?
Well,
or-
I don't know about that. I mean, that's between them, but I just want to, I want to make sure that the citizens realize, yes, that we're going to be doing this, that now they're going to have a bill that they didn't have before because we're doing this. Yes, we're expecting to generate revenues, but I don't want to drop it on somebody without,
Knowing.
proper awareness. Like you said, some of them know and some of them don't know what's going on over there. Yes, obviously, it's something that should be done, but I think that the city needs to do a good job of going through and telling them, hey, this is what's happening, and making sure that we're ahead of this instead of behind it when somebody starts complaining.
We've dealt with Mr. Crawford quite a bit.
Okay.
Because he does have a master meter out there, and there's been cases where, for some reason, there what could look like leaks, and it's very hard for him to determine where the leak is coming from.
Right.
Because you have 68 units and one master meter.
Right.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I think this would definitely make it a lot easier for yourself. Yeah, it's been pretty difficult for him. He's even gone to the point where sometimes he'll go through every,
Cut off.
not the cutoff, on the line, on the water line. Yeah, to look to see if there's a commode that's leaking or whatever may be leaking, and he hasn't been able to find it.
I'd like to see the pressure.
So, once you have individual taps on each individual, then it's so much easier to be able to locate any leaks or whatever else may be. Right now, he's the one who's taking the burden
Yeah.
on the cost.
If I could interrupt,
Sure.
maybe this item,
Yes.
because we have a few issues that need to be discussed, and like I asked Mr. Crawford, this is the first time that it's been explained to me, and I know that you've been talking about this for years, that it's tenants, and it's something that we need to check and look at in regards to our legal ability to run it to each tenant.
Okay.
Okay, we can table and bring it back next
I would
meeting
ask it
if you want.
to be tabled, please.
Okay.
And it's me, it's my fault.
Okay.
Ask you to table it.
Okay.
Okay.
Mayor, make a motion to table. I'm sorry, you hadn't called for it yet, I apologize.
Okay. Council, may I have a motion to table agenda item number 10?
Motion to table.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign, I'm sorry. All opposed, same sign, I'm sorry. Okay. Motion to table agenda item number 10. Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Ramos. Okay, we'll move on to agenda item number 11. Before I open that agenda item, we do have a form that was filled out in reference to notice of conflict disclosure statement by Councilwoman Mrs. Bowen. So,
Yes, I'll be stepping out.
okay, thank you.
Thank you. You do have representation here from LJA, Mr. Remmett.
Okay. Okay. I'll go ahead and move on to agenda item number 11. Discuss, consider, and act upon proposed amendment number 1 regarding proposal to provide engineering services for the water line extension revised route to the Alice TxDOT facility, LJA proposal number 18-00056-AMD01, LJA project number C802-21076, and authorizing city manager to negotiate and sign all documents. Whose agenda item is this?
And this is a project that's, I think, got started in 2017, and Roland's been working on this with TxDOT and with LJA, kind of between, so he'll present along with Mr. Remmett.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Ramos.
City manager mentioned, it started back in 2017. When I arrived, we were just getting started with the TxDOT project. It came before council, and y'all approved it at the time. I think you were at the council, on the council at the time, Ms. Carrasco, when it was approved, to run a water line to the TxDOT facilities. Yes, and then it started, we had the original scope of work, and that changed due to us not being able to acquire property to put the booster station. We just couldn't, we tried different tracts of land, and the owners just didn't agree to sell that part of land. So then we revised it, and we met last week with Mr. Hicks and the engineer from TxDOT and a few other people, myself and Donnie with LJA, and they've agreed to the change order. There's a change order that's coming before y'all, and Mr. Donnie from LJA will explain what that change order entails.
And this is a project that TxDOT is paying for. They have us somewhat in a project manager type of relationship. So, we'll pay the expenses and they reimburse us. And that's been the relationship that we've had. And so, if it wasn't TxDOT, we wouldn't be this involved in the project, but they wanted us to kind of help them with it.
They do have some problems with the water at their facilities, so they're actually very eager for this project to get started.
Okay. Council, do you have any questions in reference to this agenda item? No?
I real quick, so is there still going to be that booster station, or is that going away? Because I know you said a problem, did we finally acquire some land, or did we just have to
Yes.
Yeah, I was turning it over to Donnie.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah, he's getting to the meat of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Donnie Remmett with LJA. Used to be Quan Remmett Gutierrez 6 years ago. I'm an old Alice boy, back before the city council after many years. But just a brief overview, when that thing first started out, TxDOT at their facility, they were on a water well, and they were experiencing problems then. So Rudy Mora, who was running the engineering department here, he mapped out a project to run a water line down County Road 116, and or was it 117? 117. And to go with a booster station, and then we go under Highway 281 bypass, and then go up the west right-of-way line to the TxDOT facility. Well, as it turns out, as Michael and Roland and all of us kind of got, we need to have a booster station, but he got Right-of-Way Services, Inc., and I mean, they beat it to death, and nobody wanted to give them a booster station. We had a certain area we had to have it in to get out of a floodplain. So we had a stretch of road that could have gone on either side, but nobody wanted to do it because, I don't know, maybe the sound of a booster station sounded like some big gas pipeline thing or something, but it's really not. So they fixed that project. They said, well, is there anything else we can do? Because we're having real problems out here. So we moved one county road south, and we are essentially doing the whole project over on this new route. And it has some more significant problems in that in the first project, we did not have to negotiate the Sacramento tributary that has a bridge across it. So now we have to go, out to 117 and then turn north, and then we've got to somehow get over beside the creek. It's a pretty good size structure. So anyway, it really is. But what Michael and I decided, and Roland, was that before we even start with turning this in, let's make sure we got a booster station site. So they worked, Right-of-Way Services, Inc. worked with Mrs. Tostal, And we got an agreement of a tract of land that will work for all of us, and she's committed to doing it once the project is underway, and that's where we'll design our booster station. So that was, we said, like Michael said, before we even do anything on this design, let's don't do the same thing again. Run out here and find out we don't have a booster station site. So now we have one and we're able to proceed. So like I said, we have this amendment is amendment to the old contract, which TxDOT is okay with, and it's starting the project kind of essentially over, really, in a lot of ways. So anyway.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time communicating with Brent Starr over at Right Away Services, and he worked trying to get somebody that buy a land from somebody for the booster station, and we would follow up, every other week and then every month, and then couldn't find anybody. So finally, he came and said, "Hey, I found a place."
Yeah,
took a while.
Yeah, they did. When we were in the original configuration, we were thinking that surely somebody will give us a booster station south because we're running water out to their land. I mean, that's, you want a subdivision or something, well, now you've got a water line to come off of, but that was to no avail. And they just, they flat didn't want to do it. Anyway.
Next question is, and one of the benefits, like you said, that we thought in 2017 when y'all presented this is we were also going to be adding some fire hydrants, if I'm not mistaken, as well out there. So they would have extended fire safety to this area too. Exactly. Now in this area where we're extending now, maybe not on 281 because there's not really residents there. Right. But is there anything on that section where we switch over right past the booster station that we're going to be adding any fire hydrants or anything like that for?
Yeah, along that route, we're going to, the subdivisions out there now, we're going to pick up that water line and run to the booster station. The booster station will up the pressure and send it on to TxDOT. But along that line, along that county road, we're going to install fire hydrants under this project.
Now, you're talking about going back towards 281 or just from the booster station forward? Because up where the booster station is going to be, it's a 6-inch line that leads up to there. We're not going to increase that line at all, are we?
Well, it's going to depend a little bit on TxDOT. We're trying to show, even though we're going to be tying onto a 6-inch line further down Capri Road, we're going to shoot for putting an 8-inch line, just because, TxDOT had a little bit of heartburn when we were talking about it, but then it just sort of went away. So I think that's what we're going to try to do is go with it. It may end up being a 6, but we think we want to oversize it for future development out there.
That was it. Thank you.
Any other questions? I wanted to just ask something.
You said we had to, I guess, we're adding linear feet to?
Actually, the linear footage of the thing is not really that much different.
Okay.
But this one now, we're probably going to have to directionally drill underneath the Resaca de Medio tributary. And so that's an expensive item. Sometimes it's the only way you can do it. So.
How does that affect us as far as the expense or any not? It doesn't change.
It's all passed through.
The same,
We're
okay.
going to get reimbursed on everything, correct?
Yeah, this is not anything that we're paying for. All we're doing is spending the money and getting reimbursed. It's
It wasn't more about,
Yeah.
I was just talking about the
It's
water.
so little
usage
water,
and stuff.
TxDOT.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Well, TxDOT, they're going to be right now the only ones using water out there. They're the ones who want. That's not going to be a big draw on us. I mean, at all. So,
And I'm sure it's metered anyway, so it's not like.
Yeah.
And anything that's added thereafter into the subdivision that's out there, if they tap in, they're going to be tapped and they're going to be metered. So it's nothing but really a bonus for us. We're getting something for free and we're going to be able to bill for it later on. So
exactly.
I was just kind of thinking on the lines of, how we've done other projects and it's not looped and then different things and we're having to go and basically, so that's why I was asking.
Because sometimes this, a lot of people don't understand that sometimes when things like this happen, we do have a benefit, but down the road it actually turns into a liability as well because your cost of repairs and stuff like that moving forward. But we're years and years out from that for now, so I think that's, and it doesn't cost us anything.
I just wanted to double check, those are things. Thank you so much for considering
Good to see y'all.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Thank you, sir. Is there any action needed on this one?
Yes. Entertain a motion
Mayor, I'd like to
for,
make a motion accepting, approving the proposed amendment number 1 regarding the proposal to provide engineering services for the waterline extension revised route to the Alice TxDOT facility, LJA person, proposal number 18-00056-AMD01, LJA project number C802-21076, and authorizing city manager to negotiate and sign on documents.
Second.
you have a first and a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you so much again.
See you more as this thing goes along.
Thank you, sir.
Keep you posted.
Thank you. Maybe call Mrs. Bowens to join us.
You find her? Yes, sir. But it's safe.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to move on to agenda item number 12, discuss, consider, and act upon an ordinance creating a public recreation board and adopting all necessary bylaws for said board. This is Mr. Councilmember Pete Chris. Agenda item, Mr. Chris, I turn this over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. This is this was the board that during the charter change that we actually pulled out of the charter. And back in December, January, actually back in November, legal counsel kind of presented us with a generic board ordinance. However, we felt that we needed to better structure what we were going to have on this board. So what you have before you, what was in, just so you know, what was in your packet was a working version of the original ordinance. And then what you have presented in front of you now has just a few slight changes, and I can point those out to you if you like. But basically what this is going to do is it's going to recreate that public recreation board, but it's going to be, a public recreation advisory committee. It will basically serve the same purposes, but have it a little bit more defined and limited. It reduces the term from the 5-year terms that they had before to a 3-year rotating term, so that we can keep people active and wanting to stay involved in this board. And then it allows council to better control the bylaws and make movement on this board or this committee without having to go through charter change. So some of the changes that are on the revised version that you have in front of you, as opposed to what was in the packet, so you can know, is that under the section 62-200, it initially had said public recreation director, and we don't have one. So now it states it as a liaison in the chart, in the bylaws, or somebody appointed by city manager to act as that. Then if you go to continue down, everything was the same as before. It talks about vacancies. It talks about the eligibility for members having to be citizens of Alice. It talks about council appointment, the duties and responsibilities. There was a slight change to the duties and responsibilities in regards to the order from what was in your packet to what was on this final one. It removed one section which is talked about in the bylaws. So it's
What section was
let me
removed?
find it real quick for you. Hold on.
Okay.
It removed a line. So it changed the order. It removed number 2 to number 1, which isn't a big deal. And then it went the number 5, where it said coordinate various recreation programs and encourage growth. That's kind of already covered if you talk about establish recreation plan and goals. But basically what it's saying is, between the ordinance and the bylaws, is that this board and committee will establish things and bring them before council in order for things to move forward. It's not just a free reign type of thing out there that kind of goes at its own. It talks about where they, that they can go out and find money from the private sector or from the general public, but not necessarily that they have free reign of the checkbook, which was one of the things before, where they came in and they always wanted money from CVB. So it kind of changes that up a little bit, and they present to council and say, these are our goals. And then council can establish what the movement forward is. And then the bylaws, are the same. The only change that, and why you have a secondary copy now, is across the top, it had stated that it was the Public Recreation Board, but now it's the Alice Public Recreation Committee. That's the only change in the bylaws from what you have in front of you now to what was in the packet. Council has any other questions for me or staff, we can address it.
Council, any questions?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
26.204, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm a little uncomfortable with that, getting into the acceptance of gifts and raising of money, putting additional burden on staff, and also, it's not like we have never had a problem with that in the past history. I'm not against, I mean, strictly advisory, I have no problem with that. That part, I just want to go on record.
Well,
I'm not comfortable with it.
Well, I spoke to legal counsel as well, but what it comes down to is if they're in the reading of it, in order for them to even go out to the general public and get funds, because it doesn't say that they're getting funding from the city.
Right.
Let's make that known. This is an acceptance. They can try to make requests, but for the most part, this is them going out and seeking funding from the general public, but they have to get permission from the council before any projects move forward. Does that make sense? So if once they come forward with the project and they say that we need to look for funding, council has to approve that. They just cannot go out willy-nilly and start trying to find funding from people or go out and get grants. If they find a grant that they want to apply for, they can come to council and ask for approval. It basically puts it back on council. Again, we're trying to form an advisory committee that would help council, and I don't know why Siri thinks I'm talking to it, but an advisory committee that would help council help the community. You know what I mean? So that's how a lot of these committees are formed, and that's what they do. I understand where you're coming from, but the way it's worded is they have to come to council before they even start that process. We're not just giving them free rein to go out and get money, and nowhere does it state that the money comes from the city. It comes from the public and from private sector. But I know what you're talking about because it was reworded in general.
Council, any other questions? Council member Ms. Bowen?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
No, I don't see a problem with it. I read it several times and I think we're okay.
Okay.
I'm good with it.
I did have a couple of questions.
Go ahead.
I also was a little confused about the, I didn't know that we had this type of verbiage in here with other committees. So I was just kind of leery about that, about them seeking or going out for funds. And then city treasury for improvement of the municipal. Who would be the city treasury that they would be depositing funds to? Or
that
It is just basically what it says it is. Finance is your city treasury.
Okay.
Your accounts are your city treasury. It's not like we have a big safe downstairs that we put money in. And I don't mean to be facetious, but.
Oh, you're fine.
That's, thank you,
Yeah.
Mayor. It's very nice of you. But our city accounts are city treasury, and it's no problem to change the language in those regards. In regards to the going out for city funds, Mr. Chris, very specifically questioned that, and what it does is it allows your people that you think need to be interested in this type of thing, if they know of a granting entity or something like that, and then they can put together a proposal, come to you, and see if that's something the city pretty wants to do, and so pretty much wants to do. So hopefully, if you get the right people involved, they have the opportunity to do a lot of legwork for you in regards to outside funding. And I thought that was one of the things that you all wanted to encourage.
yes.
And-
It was just the way it was on here and I read it through. It made it sound different because all committees
Don't do that.
don't do that, so.
No.
Okay.
But in this one,
This particular
so let me
one.
address that. In this one, it's you gotta remember, we're talking about the potential for sporting
Sure.
as well. So you can have people who want to sponsor the field or help with the fences or do these type of things that if they're willing to contribute, we allow these people to go out and look for that funding upon our approval, and then they can assist us in the development and bettering of these facilities as well. So,
And I also had a question, Mr. Lemon, in reference to Section 62.202, and there's also a reference to it on 62.200, but where it says, let's see, appointees shall be generally considered persons of good moral character and shall be subjected to a background check prior to appointment. And I was just wondering, do we do that for other committees, or what was the?
I think that was actually in the charter.
That's the way it is?
And I'm going to tell you, and not in my role as city attorney, but a past role that I had is that we have done background checks for individuals that we've had involved in our committees.
Okay.
In particular, what this is replacing the public record. And in those instances, I know at the time that I was sitting here that staff would do a background check because of their involvement in the community.
With the community.
And with youth.
Around children.
Sure, okay. Any other questions, council?
And I would like to make a statement in regards to appointment of anybody on this, if it's approved here in a minute. I don't feel like we, even with the applications that we have in place, that we need to appoint anybody to this committee moving forward today. I feel like all the applications need to be presented with this new ordinance and the bylaws for the applicants, so they know what they're getting themselves into as opposed to what they think they're getting themselves into. So I do ask to keep that in mind as we move forward on this.
Okay.
And Mayor, I'd like to add that, thank you very much, Pete, Mr. Chris, for putting the time and effort into this, and also our attorney, our city attorney, for working together on this. It is a team effort on it, and I am very appreciative of you all bringing this to the table. It's something that is needed. Thank you.
And it was something that we promised the citizens when we went for charter change.
True.
I wanted to make sure we followed through on our promises when we talked about charter change and removing this as one of the actual votes itself was to remove this from the charter, and I wanted to make sure that one of the items itself, I'm sorry, not the votes, but the items itself, and I wanted to make sure that we followed through. And this was this council, with the exception of the mayor, but the mayor was involved, very involved in the past as a council member and just as a committee member, if I'm not mistaken. So just wanted to follow through. So.
Well, this is a very important board, and that could be vital to a lot of our successes within the city. So yes, it is a very important board or committee. Thank you. So at this time, if there's no further discussion or questions, I'll entertain a motion for agenda item number 12.
I'd like to make a motion adopting ordinance creating the Public Recreation Board and adopting all necessary bylaws for said board.
Second.
Okay, I have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay. Agenda item number 13. Discuss, consider, and act upon authorizing city staff to submit a grant application to the Coastal Bend Community Foundation, CBCF, for funds to purchase books and accessories to provide participants and families reading together and in the summer reading programs.
Good evening. To apply for a similar project as last year when we received $5,000 to provide books and accessories for both programs participants. There's no match required, the staff of the library has already been using the funds from last year's grant to provide for the participants during this city's fiscal year and for this summer reading program, which is called Tales and Tales. And it's a great program. The library does a wonderful job. Grant applications are due June 14th. Our reference librarian has already started preparing the application, and I've been working with her on that, so we're asking for your authorization to apply.
Okay, thank you. council, any questions? Ms. Bowen?
Yes, it's between 5 and 10,000?
That's the average grant award.
Okay, so when we apply, it could be more than 5,000?
It generally hasn't been.
It hasn't been?
So we've stayed within the 5,000.
Either way, it's very good. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes.
Mr. Burke? No questions? Mr. Molina? I guess Mr. Pete Chris? Mr. Chris, any questions?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Okay. There's no discussion or any other questions. I'll entertain a motion for agenda item number 13.
Mayor, I make a motion authorizing city staff to submit a grant application to the Coastal Bend Community Foundation for funds to purchase books and accessories to provide participants in family reading together and in the summer reading programs.
Second.
Okay, we have first and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Okay. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 14. Discuss, consider, and act upon authorizing city staff to submit a grant application to the Office of Justice Programs Bureau of Justice Assistance for up to 50% reimbursement for the purchase of 5 bulletproof vests under the fiscal year 2021 Bulletproof Vest Partnership Grant Program. And Ms. Barbara, you will.
Mayor and council, the city's participated in this grant application program since 2001, and we've been awarded $79,173.46. As the mayor read, this grant would provide up to 50% of the purchase price of a bulletproof vest for our officers. We have a 5-year cycle for bulletproof vest, and next in the city's 2022 fiscal year, 5 vests will need to be purchased to replace those that are aging. And we're working with Lieutenant Sines, who's keeping track of all the vests and when they reach their 5-year lifespan. We're looking at applying, we're looking at a purchase price of approximately $900 per vest. And
I was gonna have a heart attack.
She's thinking big grants.
That's a really good vest. And so 50% of that would be budgeted in the city's budget, $2,250, plus we're estimating about $50 for shipping and handling, because that's not always approved by the grant program. And this grant application is due June 14th as well. So we're asking for your authorization to submit the application. I did have my budget meeting with my colleagues in finance yesterday, and we went through the need for the matching in grant notes. And so they're aware of the need for the match in the police department. So they're looking and researching.
Okay.
And the match, in the past, the police department has used forfeiture funds if they didn't have it in their city budget, and they had forfeiture funds in the past. They've used forfeiture funds for the match.
Okay. Good. Hey, council, any questions? Mrs. Bowen?
I may have asked this before, when we purchased the vest before, but we retired one K-9, and we still have, I believe, one. Do we have, do they have vest, the K-9?
I believe so.
Is that through a grant, the same kind of grant, or?
I don't know. I'd have to check with
That's a good question.
the police department. I have not worked on a grant application for the K-9.
I'd
But I'll
like-
be happy to check with.
I'd like for you to check on that and see, because I know they're just as expensive as a vest for one of our officers. And I believe they deserve to be protected as well.
I think that you had brought this up when Chief Davis was here, and I believe Chief Davis, I think she just, yeah.
He did bring the dog with the vest.
He did have the vest, right?
Yes.
And those are the same kind of, every so many years, they have to be replaced, so.
I don't know, I would think they.
I would think so.
I would
Kevlar
think
wears down.
so.
And if we can get them through grants,
I'll
it might
have
be
to-
something to look into if you can.
I'll have to check with them to see how they got.
Yeah, how they got that vest, yeah.
I know in the past, years ago, we got some K-9 equipment through an HEB grant, but I don't know if it was a vest.
Okay.
But I'll check.
Thank you.
and see.
Thank you, I
Oh,
appreciate
you're
that.
welcome.
Just want to take care of them as well.
Oh, sure.
Mr. Burt?
And we have sufficient vests for our manpower? as
Yes,
it
sir.
is now? Okay.
Yes, sir. We have a current grant with an available balance. So the police department is anticipating, I believe, some new hires this month and next month, so they can use the current BVP grant toward the purchase of those new hires. And then we apply for this grant during this funding cycle and receive an award, then they can use that for the 5 that
Falling off.
expire next fiscal year.
Thank you. Mr. Molina?
Yeah, I just had a quick kind of, just curious question. What happens to the vests that are like already done, like after 5 years? What do they do with them?
Well, I know in the past they've kept them and used them as spares, because they explained to me that at the end of 5 years, it doesn't automatically not keep you safe. So I know in the past they've kept them and used them as spares, or
Say that again? You said after 5 years what?
it doesn't just automatically not protect you anymore.
Right.
It doesn't just expire at
Sure.
the end of 5 years, but they try to stay ahead and not, and provide the officers with.
Well, also, we need to keep up with technology, how weapons are being made and
And
the
the
vest
grant
and-
program has standards on what type of vest you can apply for. And so the project director, in this case Lieutenant Sines, will look through the menu in the grant application and level 3 threat, and then, the manufacturer. So, but I can ask them
No,
what they
I was
currently
just curious as to
do.
whether they get refurbished or they get sent back, or do we get some kind of,
I just know that in the past, they've kept some of the old ones.
because they're saying after 5 years, we need to replace them, then I wouldn't want anybody putting them on if.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think
you
that
never
it
know.
serves a couple of different purposes. One is we have to keep a couple of them in stock. Heaven forbid that one is used, one of the new ones is used along the way. They have to have something until they get a new one, right? But secondary, I didn't know if there was a program, because I know that in the fire department, we have a program where you can pass off some of that equipment when it's recertified or checked off to like volunteer fire departments or lesser programs and so forth like that. It was a good question. Is that what happens to them, or do we stockpile them?
I'll
So-
be happy to check what they do now. Sure, I'll be happy to check.
But I'm happy. I'm gonna tell you right now. Even 4 years ago, 5 years ago, when I was on council, we weren't in a position where we're waiting for officers in order to buy vests.
No, we don't. We keep applying every.
But I'm just saying we weren't there. We were behind.
Right.
We were behind where we had officers who had outdated vests. So thank you for staying on top of this and getting us ahead of the game. Where now we're waiting on officers and ready to get them a vest and protect the people who are out there protecting us. So thank you.
And new officers coming in.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, once they get here,
Yeah.
we're able to get them a new vest, and that way, they can protect us properly. Where in the past, the ones that were already here, we were just trying to figure out ways in order to get them new vests.
And I thank you, and I'd like to thank the project directors, the current one and the past ones, who have been diligent in talking to all the officers, getting all the serial numbers, the ages, and creating a document that says it expires.
Right.
Yeah.
Here.
And
Actually
we're gonna need
tracking.
their own little
Thank you.
database.
Thank you.
But I'll follow up on the K-9, and then I'll follow up about what they currently do with the old vest and give you
Thank
that
you.
information.
We appreciate that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments or discussion?
No, thank you.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion for agenda item number 14.
May I make a I make a motion to authorize the city staff to submit a grant application to the Office of Justice Programs, Bureau of Justice Assistance for up to 50% reimbursement for the purchase of 5 bulletproof vests under the fiscal year 2021 Bulletproof Vest Partnership Grant Program.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, motion passes. Okay, we move to agenda item number 15. Discuss, consider, and act upon, A, adopting a resolution supporting the City of Alice, Texas detailed application, project ID 1_CRP_Alice01_Williams, SRTS_PA.PDF to the Texas Department of Transportation's 2021 Transportation Alternatives set-aside call for projects. B, authorizing the city manager to sign and submit the project as described in 2021 TA detailed application. And C, committing to develop, implementation, construction, maintenance, management, and financing of project ID 1_CRP_Alice01_Williams, SRTS_PA.PDF.
Mayor and council, yeah. Mayor and council, the reason for that title is we have to use that in submitting the application.
Okay.
And this is the same sidewalk application that was submitted in 2019 that TxDOT had for transportation alternatives, safe routes to schools, SRTS, which has now been incorporated into the Transportation Alternatives Grant Program. So we're reapplying for 2021, and you'll see in your staff summary a description of the 5-foot wide sidewalk, and you have a map showing the location of the sidewalk. And the length of the sidewalk is about approximately 3,155 feet total length. And it will connect William Adams, St. Elizabeth, and will connect those schools to the library, to downtown, the central town, and that's part of the grant application about the connectivity. We've talked with the TxDOT engineer in Corpus about our project. We submitted a preliminary application that was accepted, and we were invited to supply the detailed application. During this funding cycle, TxDOT has what's called transportation development credits that are which, if we're approved, and we would be able to use those transportation development credits for the match. So there would be no cash match for the project. Another special consideration is currently TxDOT has funding from the federal government to cover jurisdictions fewer than 5,000 population. So if our project is approved, TxDOT will put it on a conditional projects list that TxDOT prioritizes for future federal appropriations that TxDOT anticipates getting for 2023, 2024. So it wouldn't have, at this time, any fiscal impact on the city budget. So we're asking for your authorization to resubmit the sidewalk project under this current funding cycle. And we would, TxDOT anticipates making award announcements by October. So we should know by October if our project made the conditional projects list.
Council, any questions or?
I'm good. This project, we've submitted, you said we submitted before, but didn't we submit it on 3rd Street? Didn't we sit it on the south side of WAMS at one point, a few years back? And we were not approved at that point?
We're approved.
Huh?
This is the same route that we
It's always
submitted.
It's the same route? Okay.
Safe route to school program.
Okay.
on Fifth
Yeah, I
Street.
remember that. I
Outside of
just, for
Fifth
some
Street.
reason, I thought it was closer to WAMS. I guess I'm just off there.
And this is a very competitive grant, right? There's several communities that are going out for
Yeah,
this grant.
and that's why one of the things, when we first submitted it, we started looking at the places where we really wanted to put these in. This was not the first location, but this doesn't involve any other issues other than just sidewalks. Some of the other places we had needed drainage, and
That's
we
what-
didn't want to, we wanted it to be what they really wanted the grant to be for.
Yeah.
And there's no other work but just sidewalks here, and that's what made this, hopefully it'll be appealing this time.
We hope so.
I think that's
That
that
might be-
initial
that
layout
might
was
be
the
it, the
one that we were talking
drainage.
about with the drainage.
Yeah.
And then they were like, no.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Mr. Molina,
I have no questions.
Mr. Burke? No. Mrs. Bowen?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay. If there's no further questions or discussion, I'll entertain a motion for agenda item number 15.
Mayor, I make a motion adopting a resolution supporting, here we go, supporting the City of Alice, Texas detailed application project ID 1_CRP_Alice 01_Williams SRTS_PA.PDF to the Texas Department of Transportation 2021 Transportation Alternatives Set Aside Call for Projects. And B, authorizing the city manager to sign, submit, and the project as described in the 2021 TA detailed application, and C, committing to development, implementation, construction, maintenance, management, and financing for the project ID 1_CRP_Alice 01_Williams SRTS_PA.PDF.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Barber.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're not leaving yet.
Okay.
You give her a chair.
Agenda item number 16, discuss, consider, and act upon, A, authorizing the city manager to sign and submit a grant application through the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, TCEQ, Governmental Alternative, Fuel Fleet GAFF program for funds to purchase an electric vehicle. B, designating the city manager as the city's authorized official with the authority to accept a grant award and to sign all grant-related documents. And C, committing to operating and monitoring the use of an EV purchased with grant funds for a period of 3 years following TCEQ's verification and approval of proof of purchase documentation.
Mayor and council, this GAF is one of TCEQ's Texas Emissions Reduction Program, or TERP, which provides funding to help jurisdictions transition to alternative fuel vehicles and equipment. TCEQ has had the TERP program for a number of years. The GAF is a new program this funding cycle, and we would like to apply for the purchase of an electric vehicle for proposed use by staff in our risk management, code enforcement, and meter reader departments. The amount you can apply for depends upon the class of the vehicle, and the class of the vehicle is determined by the gross vehicle weight. So the class of vehicle we would be looking to purchase would be a Class 1 vehicle, which would involve applying for a $15,000 grant. The estimated purchase price that we're looking at for an electric vehicle, we compared, working with the city manager and the finance director, we compared 4 different types of electric vehicles, and we're looking at a Tesla 3 at a starting price of $37,990. So if we're approved for funding, the city would have to make up the difference between the purchase price and the grant of $15,000. And again, in working with my colleagues in the finance department, when I had my budget meeting yesterday, we went through grant notes for this project. So they're looking for sources for the matching funds. And you'll find in your packet a spreadsheet showing the 4 different electric vehicles that we looked at, and that the Tesla, that's all they do is manufacture electric vehicles. And since 2008, and then General Motors, Nissan, and Kia, we found out have been manufacturing electric vehicles since, General Motors 1996, Nissan 1947, and Kia since 1988. And one of the requirements of the grant program is the equivalent miles per gallon, but this would be per battery, and they all meet that requirement, the highway miles. And then you'll see on that spreadsheet the purchase price of each vehicle, and then the rating, the reliability, based upon the information we found on their websites. And Mr. Esparza and Roland know a lot about electric vehicles, so I'm sure if you have questions that I can't answer, they can.
Says who? I've seen a lot. No, I think we know a little bit, right, Roland? As we went through this, trying to figure out which one we wanted to apply for, we kind of learned a lot, about the reliability and also the equivalency on how long they would go on the miles per, based on the miles per gallon equivalency. But it's an interesting program that they have. It's like getting a vehicle for a 40% discount. We would pay $22,000 or $23,000, and the grant pays $15,000. Whether we'll get it or not, I don't know, but something that would be interesting to try for us.
If we don't get it, we can look at the other alternative fuel grant programs TCEQ has and see if we can apply under one of the other ones. TCEQ, the coordinator of this particular program, anticipates that they'd make decisions, announcements in July. So we may know by July or the end of July.
Council questions, Mr. Chris?
Yeah, I do actually. First and foremost, I guess the question is, are we applying for a grant just to be applying for a grant, or is this a vehicle that we would need anyway? You understand what I'm asking here? Yeah, so.
If we give it to meter readers need vehicles right now, they're on some of those old trucks. We need vehicles, and so it's not like we're just applying to apply. It's going to be put to use, and then something else will probably be retired.
And at the 22, let's call it 25, right? Because we're going to round up for simplicity's sake. At the 25, if we were paying for a non-electric vehicle, would we be getting would we still be ahead? Are we still ahead? Like, would we be paying more if we bought a regular vehicle for a regular?
Rolling the.
Do you understand what I'm asking
Yeah.
here? If we were just to go out to one of the local dealerships and buy a vehicle for the meter reading or whatever, are we still ahead at this 25 than if we actually just purchased something?
Well, a couple of things to consider. If we were to buy a vehicle for the meter reader to bring out, probably be a pickup truck.
Okay.
But we're also going into the smart meters, so this will allow, like a car, to be able to be used. But by the same token, we're also trying to be proactive because according to everything we're reading, by 2025, like 40% of the fleet out there is going to be electric on almost everybody. So we're trying to stay ahead of the game and be proactive and jump on this opportunity to try it out, to see, kind of like a little pilot study to see if it's feasible to do it or not. There's some that are hybrids. They're probably a little bit cheaper, that do your electric and your gas, where if you go under a certain speed, then it's electric. And you go a higher speed, whether it be 30, 40 miles, then you go into the gas portion of it. But it's really kind of like a pilot study to try to be proactive also, because it's coming regardless of whether we want to, realize it or not. It's sooner than later.
I'm not hating on electric vehicles by no means. I'm just, because the other thing is, like you said, with the hybrids and this one, the Tesla itself is being fully electronic. Are we going to have to invest in a charging station or some kind of setup as well that's going to be additional? Or do they literally, I mean, I know very little about electric cars, I'm going to be perfectly honest. Or do they literally just plug into a wall socket? I don't think so, because otherwise you wouldn't have all those crazy things you see on TV. So, I mean, are we going to have to invest in something like that as well?
They do sell you the additional, because it's like a 220, so that one is about $500 extra. There's some of the others that are just a regular 110 plug. And the Tesla will do a 110 plug, but you're talking about 8 hours for it to charge very little.
Right.
So you're a bit off with the power pack that they sell.
Okay. See, and that's just something that I think, like I said, we just want to make sure we cover all the bases and everything's out there for everybody, because this is a big step for a city like Alice, let's be honest. I mean, you drive through Alice now and you see a couple of these new homes that have solar panels on them, and a lot of people are like, what is that? Why does their roof look like that? Well, it's just new, and yes, it is going that direction, and I can appreciate what you're doing here. I just want to make sure that we're just we have good reasoning for it, and that we're good stewards, like we always say, of the funding that we do have. You know what I mean? So.
There are some pickup trucks that are electric now. They'll be out in 2020. Electric, with those out before Lightning, that'll be out next year.
Right. So, well, like you said, the purpose of this vehicle could be utilized different than what with the trucks for the readers and stuff like that. So, thank you for staying ahead of it. Thank you. That's it. Thank you.
The only question I have was the stipulation of 3 years. How does that work?
TCEQ would issue a contract that we'd have to sign, and it'll have the timeline in it.
3 years to
And
purchase it.
we have to commit to keeping the vehicle for 3 years and maintaining it, which would involve insurance and maintenance cost, but probably the only maintenance would be a new battery if you need it right.
It's very little maintenance. The
But-
batteries give you an 8-year, 100,000 miles on them.
But you do have to commit to the 3 years.
I'm just
And
curious.
it would be in the contract with TCEQ, and they'll have the dates.
Okay.
You have here that the vehicle could be scheduled for use by the risk management, code enforcement, and meter reading personnel, but it's not limited to them, right? I mean,
Well, no, the grant application asks for the proposed use.
okay.
So as Mr. Esparza, Roland, and I were meeting on this project, we discussed, okay, who could use it? What's the proposed use? So we discussed those 3 departments.
Okay.
I don't know that a contract would hold us to that, That's what we're putting in the grant application, is those 3 departments as the proposed use. And we justified why those 3 departments, that the risk manager responds to all accidents involving city vehicles, equipment, and personnel, and provides training at least 2 weeks every month, and quarterly conducts inspections at city facilities. And then the meter readers, even with the new meters, they still have a little over 2,000 meters they read every day. And we put how many routes they have, and they do that every day. So they need a vehicle for that.
Got it. Okay.
And then code enforcement.
Oh, yeah. They're everywhere.
The work, yeah.
Got it.
Weedy lots, illegal dumping.
Okay, thank you.
I just have one question, maybe a couple, I don't know. On the vehicles versus electric versus regular gas-powered, what's the life of an electric vehicle? Do y'all know, or?
I was telling Michael, I just read an article not too long ago over the Teslas right now. They're showing some that are over 300,000 miles. And they're still going strong. They don't really know what to answer your question directly, they really don't know what the life is, because they are trying them out and running them. In this particular case study, they were putting 17,000 miles a month on them. And they said that you couldn't tell that they had over 300,000 miles on it. Because there's no engine, there's nothing but batteries, really is what it is, so.
It's evolving technology.
It is.
So, yeah.
It's hard to say, but what the studies are showing so far is that they can last a long, long time. With very little maintenance, even on brakes, this is because when you let go of the gas, it just kind of slows down, because that's where it regenerates. So there's, even on the brakes, you hardly have to repair brakes or anything on it.
The only thing I would ask staff and everybody is that if we do get approved for this, at that time, we evaluate the cost of this vehicle versus, something standard, because just to be fair with the money and see where we're at. So just a cost comparison at that time, if we decide to move forward on this, if we're approved, just to go back and look and compare the two and just see where we stand to make sure it's comparable.
I'd also like to know how much the battery costs. Is it $20,000 for a new battery?
But he said we get 100,000 miles on it
8
too.
years.
Yeah, but I understand where you're coming from, because if they're going 300,
Well, the thing is that you're right, it's evolving, and as every year goes by, they're gonna come up with probably a cheaper technology for the batteries. Right now, if you replace them after 8 years, 100,000, they're pricey.
Yeah.
But 2, 3, 4 years from now, or even 8, it's gonna be a lot cheaper.
How much are they now, more or less?
Like if you had to replace the ones on the Tesla, it's probably like 10 grand.
10,000?
but I mean, it's like replacing a motor.
Well, yeah.
Yes, it's like replacing a motor.
After 100,000 miles.
Yeah.
We'll probably just have the same warranty, whatever dealership has,
Yeah.
manufacturer.
Manufacturing warranties.
So,
Like the idea.
Interesting.
if we're approved, then we could put it on the agenda again to come back to you. And then,
And I think
I'm
that
sure
you would
you
have, really have to
respond.
do that anyway.
yeah.
So I like it.
Because we'll have to also
Yes.
budget for it.
The budget for it, yes. We're stepping all the way up to the 2000s in the city of Dallas.
Have flying cars before you know it.
Jetsons.
The Jetsons. Any other questions or discussion, council? No, thank you. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion for agenda item number 60.
Mayor, I make a motion authorizing city manager to sign and submit grant application through the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality Government Alternative Fuel Fleet Program for funds to purchase an electric vehicle. B, designate the city manager as the city's authorized official with authority to accept a grant award and to sign all grant-related documents. And C, committing to operating and monitoring the use of any electric vehicle purchased with the grant funds for a period of 3 years following verification and approval of purchase documentation. So.
first and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say sign.
No.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Moving on to agenda item number 17, conduct a public hearing to discuss, consider, and act upon accepting Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation for the final plat Mary Lake subdivision, a subdivision of 0.4284 acres for 18,660 square feet, situated in the Marcelino Lopez 4 Sitio, I don't know if I said that right, but grant, abstract number 281, City of Alice, Jim Wells County, Texas, also known as 1728 East Main Street. And Patrick, you'll be speaking on this, right?
Yes, Mayor and Council, if you would, I'll give a little overview of it, and then you can open the public hearing.
Okay.
This property is the old Thomas Exxon that's over in front of Vita Shopping Center. We're hoping that it'll be some sort of a development here in the near future. We don't know exactly what's going to go in there officially, but it's been replatted to, I think it wasn't properly platted years and years ago when it was originally a Thomas Exxon, so they're just updating it before they develop it.
Okay. So at this time, it's 6:32. We'll open it up for public hearing. Is there anyone that wishes to speak in reference to this agenda item?
While we're waiting, Mayor, I'll add that the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation was to approve.
To approve? Okay. Wait another minute?
You can close it. You know,
Yeah, okay. I'll go ahead and close this public hearing to discuss this agenda item. It is 6:33. No one came forward, so we are closing the public hearing right now. Okay, Patrick, thank you. Okay, council, any questions in reference to agenda item number 17?
I have a question for our attorney. The P&Z recommend approval pending engineering stamp and survey. Does that have to be stated in the motion?
I'm sorry, tell me again. I was looking at another question.
I never ask you questions, right?
Yes, you do. You don't. Ask me, I'm sorry.
No, I said, the recommendation from the P&Z says recommending approval pending engineering stamp and surveying. Does that have to be stated in the motion?
No, it does not, and that actually, they got it. This was an
Oh.
issue.
So at the time of the P&Z meeting, it was not stamped.
Okay.
And to not slow down the process, the Planning and Zoning Commission wanted to move it through
Perfect.
and not
Yeah,
slow it
'cause I
down and
noticed
be
it
able to
was-
make it onto this council meeting. So
I noticed
that
it
was the
wasn't
purpose of that.
in here, and I know that it's not like.
But it does
okay.
have the proper stamp now.
Thank
all
you.
couldn't approve it pending that stamp.
Right.
So they presented to you pending the stamp, which was done between the time.
Got
that they
it,
did
got
and
it.
the time it got to you.
Okay.
All in an effort to keep it moving.
You got it. Great job. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments, council? No? Okay. At this time, I'll entertain a motion for agenda item number 17.
I'd like to make a motion accepting the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation for the final plat. Mary Lake subdivision, a subdivision of .4284 acre, 18,660 square feet, situated in the Marcelino Lopez 4 Sitio Grant. Abstract number 281, City of Alice, Jim Wells County, Texas, also known as 1728 East Main Street.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, motion passes. Okay, agenda item number 18, discuss, consider, and act upon a resolution on an offer to purchase tax sale property, suit number 13-08-16209-B, Benbolt Palito Blanco Independent School District, Jim Wells County, Texas, City of Alice, Alice Independent School District, Alice Water Authority, and Brush Country Groundwater Conservation District, and Jim Wells County Freshwater District Number 1 versus Israel Garcia and Esmeralda E. Garcia, also known as Lot 11, Block 1, Kolchak addition, and in addition to the City of Alice, Jim Wells County, Texas, as described in Volume 806, page 414, Official Records of Jim Wells County, Texas.
Mayor and Council, so this is a tax foreclosure that resale property that is actually going the other way than it usually is. The amount due to all the entities is about $1,000 and the bid is $4,800. So all the entities are going to get more than the taxes owed. I will note that on the language on top and on the agenda item, it references Ben Bolt and Jim Wells County Freshwater District, although this is in the city limits and it's on Ida Street, so that doesn't apply, but the account number is right on this property. And conferred with our city attorney, and he says it's fine to approve it the way it is.
Okay.
It is. The other language precatory, it specifically references us, and so that's all that concerns us and correctly identifies the property. And so anything else is what you call precatory or additional language that we don't need.
Okay. Council, any discussion, comments? Mr. Chris?
No, thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Molina? Mr. Mrs. Bowen?
No, thank you.
Okay. So with no discussion or any other questions, I'll entertain a motion for agenda item number 18.
Mayor, I make a motion to adopt a resolution on an offer to purchase tax sale property, suite number 13-08-16209-B for the Jim Wells County, Texas, City of Alice, Alice Independent School District, Alice Water Authority, and Brush Country Groundwater Conservation District, and Jim Wells County Freshwater District Number 1 versus Israel Garcia and Esmeralda E. Garcia, also known as Lot 11, Block 1, Kolchak addition, and in addition to the City of Alice, Jim Wells County, Texas, as described in Volume 806, page 414, Official Records, Jim Wells County, Texas.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, motion passes. Okay, agenda item number 19, the city council may enter into closed or executive session for the following matters. The city council may enter into closed or executive session for the following matters. Attorney consultation pursuant to section 551.071, 1 Texas Government Code to provide legal advice and counsel in connection with the city's legal rights, duties, privileges, and obligations under Chapter 174 Texas Local Government Code arising out of the pending collective bargaining negotiations between the City of Alice and the duly recognized majority bargaining agent for the city's Alice Police Department personnel. 2, review and appraisal regarding administration, contracts, projects, and claims concerning the City of Alice. Okay. So, at this time, at 6:40, we will enter into executive session.